Good morning, beloveds. I'm moving kind of slow this morning. I ended up staying up later watching the Olympics than I probably should have. But, it is what it is. I also, rather than watching the Olympics yesterday, I watched a series of 3 Hallmark movies that they created. It was the Wedding Veil trilogy. And yes, Hallmark movies are incredibly silly, very unrealistic. But what was sweet about this series was it was they took 3 of the actresses and made them friends from college. And so what I really enjoyed about the movie was watching the interaction of these 3 girlfriends for the 3 movies. How they came together, supported each other, loved each other. They were there for each other, in good times and in not so good times. The last movie that premiered tonight, or last night, that's exactly what it was. All 3 of them showed up when one of them went through a breakup. And it was really sweet. And it was a reminder that, a couple of really good friends are very, very, very important, even if you only get together once a year. It was sweet that they did video chats and called each other and would call each other when they were worried about one of the others. So, yeah, if you have those kind of friends in your life, hold them dear. They're very, very important. All right, it is February 20th. Our title is Nothing Can Prevent Increased Abundance from Appearing in My Life Today. And our quote is, "In my prosperity I said, I shall never be moved." And that is Psalm 36. Okay, prosperity is the presence of God as ease. It is the ability to do whatever needs to be done at the instant of time that it needs to be done. We must realize that prosperity is a larger term than just money. Money is the symbol of the exchange of ideas in mind, and as such, it is good and necessary. Numberless people demonstrate prosperity without using much money. They always have what they need and want at the time they need it and want it. Most families have a poor relation, someone who has never worked in his life but has always managed to get along comfortably. Such people are clear in their thought regarding prosperity, but are not clear regarding money. So they demonstrate ease and freedom without actual money in their hands. We want to make a complete demonstration and have both money and freedom, and this can be accomplished by scientific prayer, which is the disciplining of consciousness. There is only one power, the power of God. This power is the only power at work in my affairs, and it is always working for increase. I am now under the law of addition and multiplication. Never again will the law of subtraction and division operate in me. I fill my mind with God's idea of abundance, and nothing can prevent them in their full demonstration in my affairs. There is no evil to stop this from taking place, as God is all there is in my world. I praise prosperity. I talk prosperity. I love prosperity, for God is my prosperity. I accept it with joy, use it with wisdom, and release it again into my world with love. My world is easy and increased good is appearing. All right. So my favorite thing about this is he put it in black and white, where he said we must realize that prosperity is a larger term than just money. But then he also follows that up by saying that money is the symbol of the exchange of ideas in mind, and as such, it is good and necessary. A lot of religions, now I was raised Catholic, so I was raised Christian, have an interesting relationship with money. They talk about how money is the root of all evil. Well, that's not actually the whole phrase. And that's one of the problems we actually have, is that we use part of the phrase. I work in customer service, and the phrase "the customer is always right" is not actually the whole phrase. The customer is always right in matters of taste. You want to buy an ugly hat? Buy an ugly hat. Let the customer buy an ugly hat. But the customer isn't always right. And so that's the same thing. It's not money is the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. Because money is an agreement. Money isn't real. That's why he calls it a symbol. It's an agreement that we have made. And actually, if you go back and look at one of the genesis of money, because there were many, it actually goes back to the Knights of Templar, in what they would do, because they helped pilgrims do pilgrimages. So pilgrims would go into a Knights of Templar way station, and they would deposit money, and they would get a chip. They would get a writ, and then they would take that to the next Knights of Templar way station, wherever they were going, and then they could withdraw from that way station the money that they had the chip for. That's part of the beginning of money. It's not all of it. Trust me, there's a lot more. But it's interesting that money, one of the ways money started was to support religious pilgrims. And yet money is the root of all evil. When we come to love things more than we love people, that's the problem. That's the problem. So that's one of the reasons why I like to discuss the fact that prosperity is so much more than money. Prosperity is relationships, and prosperity is, as he says, it is the ease of God. It is being able to do what you want to do, what you need to do in that instant. And it does come down to to some degree, it does come down to trust. You know, when you look around your life, is your life rich in friends? Is it rich in experiences? Is it rich in love? And then as long as you have food and shelter, you're prosperous. Prosperity isn't about stuff, because frequently what happens is stuff will choke the life out of us. If we get obsessed with stuff. I follow Reverend David Bruner on Facebook, and every day he asks a question. And the other day he asked a question, recently he asked a question of, what do you collect? And I looked around my house and went, I don't, you know what? I'm not prepared to answer that question, because I got a lot. I've collected a lot of things. And so I'm looking around this, and it creates clutter, and clutter, you know, like I said, stuff can choke the life out of you. It's interesting that I can see my mental state by the state of my house. I was talking to a coworker the other day, because I have a picture that my aunt had, that I loved growing up, and it's a snow leopard, and it's huge, you know, it's a big one, and I loved that picture growing up. And one day she promised me that she would give me that picture when I got my master's degree. She didn't care what the master's degree was in, but she would give me that picture when I got my master's degree. Well, I got my master's degree. I got my master's degree 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago, and she didn't give me the picture. To be fair, I didn't ask for it. I didn't go to her and say, hey, you promised me. But partly I did that because I knew how much she loved that picture too. And then she passed last June. And when they were starting to deal with her stuff, my mom said, hey, and I said, the only thing I want is that picture. And I have that picture. And it is still wrapped up in the blankets that we use to transport it. Because I'm not ready to give up the idea that it's still hanging in my aunt's apartment. And that is the problem with stuff. Because it can bind us in ways that we're unaware of. And as you can see, it's weighing on my mind because I was talking to a coworker about it, and now I'm talking to you about it. So that's one of the reasons why prosperity isn't about stuff. Prosperity is about people and experiences and memories. So, all right, let's go back through this. Because he gave us an excellent definition of what prosperity was or is. Okay, so nothing can prevent increased abundance from appearing in my life today. I need to get out of my own way. Mostly, I think it is that so many of us are so much more prosperous than we think we are. But what it takes is our willingness to open our eyes and look around. I mean, ask any book dragon, because I know several of us that hoard books. I definitely that do I collect books? Yes. Am I proud of that? Yes. That you can never have too many books. You just don't have enough shelves. Okay. So it's about being willing to look around and go, oh no, I'm good. I'm good. Is everything, whole, perfect, and healthy? Not necessarily, but my life's better than I thought it was. All right. I don't know what to do with the psalm. And in my prosperity, I said, I shall never be moved. I don't know. Go and read Psalm 30. That's what I'm going to suggest. Okay. So, first line. Prosperity is the presence of God as ease. Boom. Mind-blowing. It is the ability to do whatever needs to be done at the instant of time that it needs to be done. That's what prosperity is. All right? We must realize that prosperity is a larger term than just money. Money is the symbol of the exchange of ideas in mind, and as such, it is good and necessary. So I'm going to go back to my premise that money is not the root of all evil. Money is just what it is. It's a symbol. Numberless people. Oh, wait, yeah, as such is good and necessary. Numberless people demonstrate prosperity without using much money. They always have what they need and want at the time they need it and want it. There's a commercial, and I forget, it's a automobile commercial, and they're all driving big trucks, and it's keeping up with the Joneses, because 3 of the 4 are Joneses, and at the end the Jonas brother come in, and he says, well, it's now keeping up with the Jonases, or whatever it is that he said. If it makes you happy, go for it. But for a whole lot of us, it's stressful and crazy, and it's not what we want. So, don't keep up with the Joneses or the Jonases. Go back to a broader definition of prosperity, and one that's not solely based on stuff. Most families have and I love he puts it in quote, poor relation. Most families have a poor relation. Someone who has never worked in his life, but has always managed to get along comfortably. How is that a poor relation if they have always had what they need? Mostly, I would suggest that it's because it makes people uncomfortable that they live outside, that this poor relation lives outside of the norm. What society expects us to do. And we don't have to do what society expects us to do, because the society would love nothing more than to make us cogs in a wheel. Most of us don't want that. Such people are clear in their thought regarding prosperity, but not clear regarding money. Okay? They don't see the point for it, is what it sounds like he's saying. So they demonstrate ease and freedom without actual money in their hands. We want to make a complete demonstration and have both money and freedom. And this can be accomplished by scientific prayer, which is the disciplining of the consciousness. The disciplining of the consciousness. It's about knowing that money isn't bad, that stuff isn't bad, but that there's more to it than that. And it's about using our resources rightly and wisely. Which comes with a whole lot of baggage, so that's a talk for another day. But it is about disciplining the consciousness. There is only one power, the power of God. This power is the only power at work in my affairs, our affairs, and it is always working for increase. I mean, look around at nature. Every season, nature changes. And to a degree, like springtime and summer are a season of prosperity in the stuff. There's just stuff everywhere. And then when it comes to the harvest, but in the winter, we do learn to let go. Winter's a reminder that prosperity is not all about stuff. I am now under the law of addition and multiplication. Never again will the law of subtraction and division operate in me. Math. Don't get me wrong, I was good at math, but ugh. Although, Emma, when I talk about looking for the good, that is the law of multiplication. When we look for the good, it multiplies just naturally. So, I fill my mind with God's ideas of abundance, and nothing can prevent their full demonstration in my affairs. All right, so that is a statement when we are getting in our own way, or we are letting society and culture and religion and, just human consciousness, what we like to call race consciousness, get in our way. That is an excellent phrase right there to say to ourselves. I fill my mind with God's ideas of abundance, because we remember that God's ideas of abundance way bigger than money. And nothing can prevent their full demonstration in our affairs. All right. So that's one, if you're struggling a bit with prosperity, with abundance, then write that one on your mirror and say it to yourself every day, twice a day. There is no evil to stop this from taking place, as God is all there is in my world. Remember that evil is not a power. It's a misuse of the one power. I praise prosperity. I talk prosperity. I love prosperity, for God is my prosperity. If God is all there is, then obviously God is our prosperity. I accept it with joy, use it with wisdom, and release it again into my world with love. And that's really part of one of the biggest things with prosperity is it's meant to move. Release it again into my world with love. It's meant to move, because you can't make room for the new if you don't let go of the old. That's why winter is super important. My world is easy and increased good is appearing. All right, beloveds. So the mission today, I'm going to go for it. The mission today is to accept our prosperity with joy, to use our prosperity with wisdom, and to release that prosperity into our world again with love. But maybe the most important part of the mission is to expand our definition of prosperity. These are way part of my prosperity. Do I have more books than I will probably ever read in my lifetime? Heck yeah. And that's okay. And that's okay. As long as they are not cluttering my life and getting in the way of me seeing the prosperity of my life in other things, of me getting out and having those experiences, of me getting out and having those relationships. So, that's the mission today, should we choose to accept it. And I really think the releasing it back into our world with love is kind of the most important part, outside of expanding our definition of prosperity. But I'm a big believer in expanding our definition of prosperity. So there's that. All right, beloveds, I'm going to move into the process of my day. So I'm going to encourage you to do the spiritual practice today, every day, of doing something loving for yourself, doing something kind for yourself, doing something compassionate for yourself. It is a spiritual practice. It's also about creating that habit, about that first response, about that default set. If you do something loving, kind, and compassionate for yourself every day, you are creating a bank of loving, kind, compassionate energy, so that no matter what happens, you've got that to draw on. And it really is, oh, there was a point. It was a really important point. And it's gone. And that's how it happens. All right. Because it'll pop back in later. And when I remember, I'll write it down. Yeah. All right. So, loving, kind, compassionate thing. It can be as small as 3 deep breaths before you open your mouth, trusting that the words that come out are what God intended. Or it can be taking a day of rest. We all need them. It is super important. So, whatever it is, love, kind, compassion, create that habit, create that default setting, create that bank. I think when it comes to prosperity, love, kindness, and compassion are super important, because we all feel so much more prosperous in our world when we are filled with that loving, kind, compassion. All right, beloveds, I am going to encourage you to do something to engage your mind and your body today, unless it is your day of rest, because Sunday is my day of rest. I will encourage you to get a face full of sun, although it's kind of cloudy today, so bright light. I'll take it. And drink plenty of water. Always. Hydration is super important. Open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you do live in heaven right here, right now. It is all around us, all the time. Because everything we see is made from God. And so, as we look at heaven around us, the easiest way to see it, to feel it, to touch it, to taste it, is to look for the good and praise it. Emma was right. Emma was right. When we look for the good, it multiplies. And there's way more good around us sometimes than we see. So when we open our soul up, we'll see more. We'll see more. Trust me on that. All right, beloveds. We are going to have an amazing 11 o'clock service, which means I need to go eat breakfast. So I'm going to tell you to have a great day, an amazing day, a wondrous day, a fantastic day, an enchanting day, a get your stuff done day, or a restful day if that is what you need. A good day. And if that is too much pressure, simply have a day. Because you are enough just as you are. You are a beloved child of God in whom God is well pleased. The beauty of that state of grace is it can't be earned, nor can it ever be taken away. It is who we are. All right, beloveds. So, we will see you right here on Facebook Live at 11 a.m. for the service, or in person if you want to come. Or you can catch us later on YouTube. I do try and get it up Sunday night. So, catch us on the social medias. We're here if you need us. We are Creative Life Spiritual Center, Creative Life Spark, or I am the Running Rev Ryan. I spent a lot of time working on my YouTube channel last night. I'm just, you know, I'm a little bit about, I'm a month and a half behind is what it is. All right, beloveds. Have a wondrous day. I will see you soon.